So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we've got another awesome guest for you. This guest has been in The Big Bang Theory, Pam and Tommy, and coming up again, season 2 of Upload on Amazon is Josh Banday. Josh, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me.
You know what? It's an absolute pleasure, and I've got to say, Upload season 1 was awesome, and when it ended on a cliffhanger, and we was all left in suspense. So come March the 11th, I think it is, we get to see it again. But before we chat about your awesome career, what I normally ask the guests is a bit of a check-in, really, because these last 2 years have been quite challenging, to say the least. I would like to know, how have you coped over the last 2 years, and how have you kept positive and kept moving forward step by step?
Wow. That's a great. Was something happening over the last 2 years that I missed?
Just a few things.
No, it seems like business as usual. Uh, you know, yeah, that's a good question. Um, I mean, I've got 2 kids, so there's not a lot of opportunity to sit in your feelings, you
Mm,
know. Um, they keep you going, they keep you needed, basically.
mm,
But I have my own kind of coping mechanisms. One of the things I noticed that was really, now that you've asked this question, um, when the whole thing started, I was really low.
mm,
Upload had come out, and it was a strange feeling of like success inside of a box.
mm,
Like you go out in the media and you see all this great press and all this success, and then you turn off your computer and you're just in your living room still. You know. So what I started doing was telling stories. I went on Instagram and I would read like a bedtime story. Just underneath the weight of this stress, I felt like people needed a break. It was
mm,
like scrolling through, there were the riots that were happening, in the US. Um, there was the pandemic and a bunch of stuff. And I was like, I want people to find something different. So I started doing that. And then recently, after Omicron came out, I noticed I started doing it again, but I did it on TikTok, and I would just tell people to send me suggestions for stories, and I would just make up a bedtime story like at like 10 o'clock at night. um, but I found that like being able to give myself an opportunity to kind of melt into a completely different world has been really therapeutic.
mm,
Um, and then something I feel like I need to say is that, I'm a mixed black Mexican dude, and I go to therapy twice a week sometimes when I really need it. Uh, and that's okay to do, and has really helped me through this whole
mm.
process.
It's strange you say that about therapy, because here in the UK, it's not heard of. So literally, the way I look at it is like you go to the gym to, make your body healthy. So why wouldn't you go to a therapist to make your mind healthy? I just don't get it, why it's so frowned upon here in the UK.
Is it the same situation? Like, is it kind of like it has a stigma of weakness
Mm,
or maybe self-indulgence?
yeah, yeah.
That's sort of what it is here.
Mm,
But
um,
yeah, for me, it's just clearing the cache.
mm,
It's you get that list, going in your head of things you have to do and stressors that come into your mind, and they don't leave unless you have this opportunity sometimes to just flush it all out,
mm,
in a
mm.
way that only therapy does.
And the wonderful thing is that you've got kids like me. I've got 2 little girls, one 8 and one 4. And I've got to say, through this pandemic, literally, spend a bit of time with my girls and you're going to be happy. And it's just a godsend. It really, really is. But let's talk about your acting, because it always puzzles me why someone would like to try and get into a industry that's so full of ups and downs, so many challenges. I mean, why acting and why not some other profession?
Yeah. I think it was always this thing that was in the back of my mind, but whenever I looked in the mirror at myself, it never seemed like a possibility, right? So, like my dad's family, everybody is a longshoreman, and that was the perceived path.
Mm.
But the thing is, I suck at that job. I'm terrible. I tried it. I crashed a truck on like my first day. I almost got killed my second day. It just wasn't ever going to work out for me. Um, and then I tried teaching, like high school and middle school, which was really fun and a lot like acting in a lot of
Mm.
ways. Um, and then I think, yeah, and then I was a graphic designer for a long time. And then I got fired from my first job when I took my first feature. And, I talked it over with my boss. I was like, is this okay? He fired me anyway. And I said, okay, I'm going to give this like 5 years. And if it doesn't work out, then I wasn't meant to be an actor.
Mm.
Um, but the joy that I get from being able to play characters and be a part of story is, I can't beat it with any other job.
Mm.
So I think like if I couldn't make money at this, I'd be just performing in my living room for my pets.
Mm.
It's a compulsion that I have. So why acting? Because I'm a sick person in my mind. That's why.
Do you know what we often see actors on the screen or on film and think what an easy job, but it's got to be hard to get into this industry. I mean, how hard has it been for you to get to where you are now?
It's been difficult. I think when you talk to actors about their careers, they tend to do this thing where they go like, yeah, I studied at this school, and then I did Stella Adler, and then I did Shakespeare, and then da, 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 they don't talk about, um, you know, being double parked at a Kinko's so that you can photocopy your headshots because you can't afford the paper at home. And they don't talk about not knowing where your next paycheck is coming from. Um, it's been really difficult, but it's balanced by the joy that it brings by actually being able to do the work.
Mm. Mm.
And, you know, acting is, it's a weird thing because it's a thing that you're almost given permission to do. Like as a musician, you love music. I can sit down in my living room and play guitar and get this great enjoyment out of it. But, being an actor, someone has to go like, okay, entertain me. Um, and so it feels like a gift
Mm.
every time you get it. I think that's what keeps me going in doing
Mm.
it.
Mm. I mean, you
Yeah.
obviously are doing very, very well because your credits so far are just awesome. I mean, obviously, when starting out, I mean, who were your idols, the people that you looked up to in the industry that you maybe wanted to be a bit like?
I I looked up to a lot of people. I think number one, it started out with Geordie LaForge on Star Trek. I
Mm.
just I thought he was like the coolest thing. And I remember taking my mom's like hair things, the not the bandanas, but like this thing, and I would put them over my eyes because he had that visor thing. It was so cool, and I would just pretend that I was Geordie LaForge because he was so like intelligent and interesting and a black guy on sci-fi, which like you just didn't see.
Mm.
But I think still my idol today is Jeffrey Wright. He got to play Basquiat. He got to, play Prisoner. His career is just full of these really diverse and interesting characters. And the funny thing is, like, he's so respected in the industry. But when I tell my friends who are like non-industry people about him, they're like, "Oh, who is he?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, you don't understand. This man is incredible. Um, he's such a chameleon and consummate actor. If I could have like a tenth of his career in talent, I mean, that'd be a dream come true.
And then you turn into pursuing comedy, which I've noticed on your social media. I mean, why comedy? Because that's got to be one of the hardest things to do, because literally it's dependent on the audience and what they find funny. You see, British comedy doesn't always go down well in the States because I think we get a few things lost in translation. But sarcasm especially. But, you know, what got you into comedy, and why comedy over, say, like the serious acting?
Yeah, I think because it's hard. You know, I started out right after college. I joined a Shakespeare company and did that for I think 3 or 4 years, and I loved it. Uh, and I was like, okay, cool. What do I do? How do I train up? And I wanted to go and do Second City, which was here in LA and also in Chicago. And I remember talking to my mentor about it, and he said, "Don't do it. You'll never make it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "No, they're not going to let you in. Like, you have to be funny." And I think what he didn't realize was that like galvanized me. Like I had to do it. Um, you know, I was always the kid that had an impression of every member of my family. I was always the kid that was like trying to clear the air by making everybody laugh. And so it played very naturally into that compulsion. And what I found out was the only difference between comedy and drama is music and timing. Um, a good story in a drama and a good story in a comedy are essentially the same things, besides like an ending and a perspective. So I eventually got to the Groundlings, to their Sunday company, which was really fun. They drilled me on character and stuff. And when the pandemic hit, I had this engine in my head to make comedy out of every single situation. And I couldn't turn it off. And so that's why I turned to social media. I was like, I've got to figure out how to get all this stuff out. And so I did Instagram and posted some music stuff, and then recently got into TikTok. And the comedy is so specific and interesting. I can't get enough of it.
Do you know what the quirky comedy I like? I mean, can I just say you do one of the best Morgan Freeman impressions that I've ever heard, and he's probably got the best voice ever. Literally, I want him to narrate my funeral. He's that good. He really, really is. And obviously, you mentioned Groundlings, because Groundlings, a lot of the viewers and listeners in the UK might not know what that is, but there is quite a few, very well-known names connected to the Groundlings. One comes to mind, which is Dak Shepard, that does the podcast Armchair Expert, because he always talks
podcast
about it continuously. I mean, what is it like at the Groundlings, and what is it? Is it a bit like SNL, where all these awesome names come together?
Yeah, it's a long-standing comedy school in LA. It started out as a performing center, and then it goes this route that all the comedy schools go. It starts out as just a stage where people come and perform, and then they come to see a specific kind of show. So Groundlings was known for its emphasis on character, and eventually it became a school and started teaching this method. And so now it is this kind of machine. You go in with however much experience you have, and it's one of the few schools in LA where they can kick you out if you don't pass a certain amount of times in their classes. They say, like, thank you so much. That's it at the Groundlings. So you go through, I think, 7 or 8 levels. of improvisation, character building, sketch writing. And at the very end of that is a very SNL kind of situation, which is Sunday Company. You're coming in every week, you are pitching sketches, you put them up on stage that weekend, and at the end, you do like a review of the last 6 months. And it's one of the most grueling experiences I've ever been through. It's like, it's comedy boot camp,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
I
And
mean,
so,
I
yeah,
mean, it sounds like hard work, and I
yeah,
presume at the end, when you finish, is it a case of that's it? I'm really funny, or is it a case of you've
yes,
passed?
you get a badge that or like a membership card that says I am funny, and
Awesome.
you can show that for discounts around LA.
That is awesome. That is awesome. A discount card. Um, so who during your time at Groundlings were there any other names that we might recognise that you worked with?
Yeah, Taran Killam was around when I was coming up. Um, there is, I think, two or three people who are on SNL right now. Chloe Feynman,
Mm.
I actually did one or two levels with. And she's currently an SNL cast member and extremely funny. I did Sunday with Jake Nordwind, who's also writing for SNL. Um, yeah, it kind of garners the best of the best,
Mm.
you know.
And would that be one of your dreams come true to appear on SNL, or is that a bit too? I mean, that to me, I would be petrified to be on that because when I went to college for performing arts, literally improv was like my worst thing, because I would start and then I would be thinking in the back of my brain, oh, I need to pick that up from the shops, and then literally, this is why I can't juggle or anything like that. My brain just goes off on a tangent. Um, but would you want to go on SNL? Awesome show. It's been around for donkey's years.
Yeah, right. I actually have like a recurring dream that I'm on it, and
A
Lauren
vision.
Michaels is like, "Okay, you're up," and I don't have the script. Like that regularly happens to me. Um, it is a dream for me, and I think what I want is for Lauren Michaels to tell me no, and then I can let go of it and
Yeah.
be done with it. But I haven't really gotten the opportunity yet. But yeah, I would totally do it. But I think Keenan's got to get out of there before I can. We're a little too similar in
That's
look.
it. We can sort that out. We can sort it
Yeah,
out.
absolutely.
We can get rid of him. There are
Let's do it.
ways.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
It's
I've got
no
people on
problem.
speed dial. You know,
Checks in the
they'll
mail.
never find us. So
No.
ups and downs of this career. Obviously there's amazing ups and there's got to be incredible downs in the way of auditioning and rejection. So let's start with the ups. I mean, what's great about being a working actor?
I think my favorite thing is when you bring something that the writer and the director didn't know they needed, and they go like, "Oh, that wasn't written in. We've got to have that." Or one of my favorite things was breaking the crew on a comedy. So if I'm in a comedy show and I just perform something and I notice the cameraman's trying not to shake because he's laughing, like that's the high, 100%. Um, yeah, and the success of being on different kinds of shows for me is big
Mm,
because growing up, I didn't see a lot of multicultural people in roles like this. Stuff like Pam and Tommy, sci-fi's. It's a huge honor, and
mm.
so yeah, being able to do those things, it means a lot to me.
And you see, because I think what's happening in the world of entertainment right now is just amazing. It's a lot more diverse. I mean, do you notice it changing from an actor's point of view?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of shifts. There's still the vast majority of projects are, white male leads,
Mm.
but I'm noticing that there's some chances that are being taken, you know, and some different casting decisions. I think right now we're in an interesting, like, murky area where we're trying to be so right that we're overcorrecting in some areas,
Mm.
right? Like, I'm uncomfortable with casting asking me how Mexican, how Filipino am I for a role? And I'm like, that's just let me be an actor. just let me
Wow.
just let me do
Wow.
the thing. Yeah. I'm like, that's a bit of an overcorrection. I understand what you're trying to do. We're going a little too far. Um, I think the most important part of this moment right now in media is that we're telling diverse stories,
Mm.
right? We're getting different perspectives from different races and being able to apply that to any audience. I
Mm.
think that's the best thing that we're doing.
Yeah, it's definitely moving in the right direction. And obviously, the downs. The downs of the profession is being away from your family. And I've got to say, on social media, back in I think it was May last year, um, you had to spend a bit of time away from your family. You did document the return back, which I've got to say was the sweetest thing, and I literally had a frog in my throat because, do you know, for me,
Oh,
if I've got to spend 3 days on a company sort of retreat away from the family, it's awful. It's absolutely awful because it's
yeah.
like you can't breathe, and it's like you can't relax or sleep or anything like that. So I think you said you had 3 months away. I just
And
wanted
four
to,
months.
if it's okay with you, I wanted to put the pictures up on the screen.
Yeah.
So we've got one here. So this is you dressing up. First impressions are important, and you, sir, definitely made that impression. Absolutely loving the shirt, and then and then obviously I'll take that down. And the next one is your
Mm.
little one. Is it boy girl?
It's a girl. Her name is Simone.
Oh mate,
Yeah.
two girls as well, same as me.
Yeah,
You
man.
you're
The two
now
girls
out.
club.
You're now outnumbered. You've
Yeah.
got a lot of trouble ahead. A
Yes.
lot of Mariah Carey moments are yet to come your way,
I
and
can't
then
wait.
the sweetest shot there. And I feel really really bad because I haven't got a picture of your other half. Obviously, she is important to you as well.
Yes, extremely.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, apart from being away from your family, what are the other things, the other challenges that you face as an actor, as sort of a word of warning for potential actors wanting to make it in this profession?
I mean, acting demands so much of you as a person.
Mm.
And once you have kids, you're faced with them just being your entire world.
Mm.
Um, the best part about it is it'll always be more difficult to be a dad than it will to be an actor. It puts those things into perspective. But the time away is tough.
Mm.
The reason why those pictures were so important was because I wasn't there when Simone was born
Mm.
and didn't get to see her for 3 months. We had planned for them to come meet me in Canada, but then Canada raised its restrictions and border rules. We couldn't get a passport. So I had to watch her delivered over FaceTime.
Wow.
And, you know, I just remember being in that room after I hung up and how quiet it was. I watched my first kid delivered, and that was a life changing experience. And this second time, it was even more defining.
Hmm.
You realize how important it is. You know, you've got kids. It's unlike anything else in the world.
Do you know what? In that second, when your first child is born, literally your whole life priorities change. So your
Mhm.
meaning as a man in this world completely changes. Gone are your self-preservation, but it's now all about that child or your children and making sure that they're safe and they're loved, no matter what they want to be when they grow up, who they ever want to love, or if they want to identify as whatever they want to, you know, as long as they're happy. And I think that's what the key is. But yeah, I mean, I was at the birth of both of mine, and my wife did an awesome job. I would never want
Mhm.
to go through that, so I'll give her the props
No,
for
thank
that.
you.
And it was
Yes.
traumatic to watch.
Mhm.
It really
It's
was,
okay.
but it was astonishing. It really, really was. But you know what? You may have missed the second one, Simone's, but you've got the rest of her life for you to be a personal butler. Daddy, get me this. Daddy, get me that. So,
Yes, she has no trouble asking.
yeah. So we're going to talk about Upload, because Upload season 1 was amazing. Great show. It's from the creator of The Office. If you could tell the viewers and listeners, the ones under the rocks, that is, who you play and a bit about the show.
Sure. So upload is basically the concept of what if after you died, you could upload yourself to a digital world. And those digital worlds were run by all the big companies that you see in front of you right now. So, like Apple has a heaven, and Frito Lay has has a heaven. Um, and so I play a technician or a customer service agent named Ivan, and he's kind of your average customer service agent that you would see. He's very no frills. He's just working a day job, but they're literally called angels, and he's the angel that I would want to have because he's just like, "What do you want?" I adore him.
And how was the project presented to you? Because it's an astonishing story. So, how was the project given to you, and what was the audition like for the show?
Oh, I thought it bombed, 100%. It was one of four auditions I was going on that day, and as I was reading, the the casting associate who was reading with me wasn't the director; it was like an associate was mouthing my lines as I was doing them, and I was just like, "This is such a crapshoot. There's no way I'm gonna get this." And I found out later that like I was one of the first people that Greg cast, if not the first one, which really surprised me. And I still haven't figured out. But like before they had their stars, he was just like, "Yeah, this dude." And they're like, "Do you want to do this show with Greg Daniels?" And you know, I loved Parks and Rec. I loved The Office because they weren't just funny; they brought heart. I think
Mm.
that's why they're so rewatchable and rewatchable. It's the comfort show for some people. For me, and it's because he brings that heart to every project that he
Mm.
touches. And I'm like, I have to know how he does it. As an actor, as a writer, like I have to know. So
Mm.
yeah, I couldn't say no to it.
And they've done a great job in the way of the casting, because the cast on that show are just awesome. They really are. And the one thing I like about shows is where, no character is bigger than any other. It's like every character in the show has their special moments and scenes, and it's just great for that. What I was thinking about when you were talking about other companies, I was thinking that Facebook are already halfway there with metaverse. Do you know what I mean?
It's so
So
scary,
it
right?
could happen. It really could happen.
True.
So season 2 hits our screens on March the 11th, and it was announced that your character is now a season regular. Um, oh, my camera just went off again, is a season regular. So I'm not actually sure what season regular means. I'm hoping that means that we see more of you. And if so, can you divulge on what we've got to expect from Ivan in season 2?
Well, let me just tell you how the whole thing ends. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I think it's a so seasons or series regular means that you are a bit of a bigger role. You're stepping into the story, and you're seen on almost every episode. And so that's a huge honor to be a part of the story of Upload. In season 2, things get a little bit bigger. We see a little bit more of the world in Upload. We get to see the different factions that are coming into play between, the Luddites, who are kind of these naturalist people, and the regular world, which is kind of just inundated with technology. And Ivan is somewhere in between. He's just like, whatever makes it possible for me to have ramen, I will side with that team at that time. And I think that's exactly where most of us would be. Yeah, I think he's who I would be in this world. So that's been pretty cool to play, is kind of the everyman in this.
And the question is, are we going to see you in any more dapper suits? Because this suit here, I mean, come on. I mean, please say they let you keep that suit after production.
I mean, it's custom made. So, I mean, what are they going to do with it? They're not going to miss it.
Is it in
my closet right now?
Yeah, it's only
I'm
one
not
Josh.
at liberty to say. Was it pilfered from set? I don't know.
You've borrowed it. It's fine. You're the caretaker.
That's right.
Yeah. Just in case they need it back. Yeah. You wear it for an office party or something. And it's like, oh.
That's right. Just show up.
Oops. Did you keep anything from any of your shows? Because the sponsors of my show, Prop Store, they deal with screen use props and costumes from literally all the big movies and TV shows. So just out of curiosity, do you keep anything as like a memento from your shows?
I did this last time. Normally I don't, because I see those things as kind of, it's a way of releasing the character in a way. But, this season we get to see Ivan's room. And when I stepped into that space, Props had done such an amazing job of building out this character and their living space. It informed everything that I did in season 2. And when I left, I took a prop Batmobile that they had, of course, taken all the logos off of, but it was much bigger than I thought, and it's currently sitting in my garage. But to me, like, touching
you make
that
it
thing
sound really big. How big is it? If it's in your garage.
So I was thinking it was like Batmobile. It's like as big as my shoulders. It's too big. It's intimidating, and was definitely removed from my luggage at some point. So someone was just like, "What is this?" at the airport.
Talking about Batman and Jeffrey Wright, I went to see the Batman last week, a premiere, and the embargo got lifted so I could talk about it. And Jeffrey Wright in that movie, superb. Absolutely. It's a Batman not like any other. Robert Pattinson plays an awesome Batman, and everyone got hung up on him with Twilight. You know what I mean? And they forget that he, has done so many wonderful, shows. But I actually saw the Batmobile in person as well, and it's in a hell of a car. Literally,
so
if security wasn't looking, I would have, taken a wheel or something home to add to my collection. But right. if you could pick, like, because obviously Upload's got a great storyline. If you could pick, say, if you were in Upload yourself and that was your afterlife, what would that look like?
Wow. Okay, so my Upload I've never been asked this. Everyone in the cast has been asked this question. I've never been asked this question. I don't know why. But here we are. So here's what I think it would be. Um, I'd have to have a space to just create stuff. Like I'm a compulsive writer and storyteller. So just like an open space with like paint and computers and stuff. And then like a video game room where I can just be a nerd with like video games and comics and all the DVDs. And then some place to experience my kids at every age, I think would be really cool. Because it's like, they're babies and then they're never babies again. They're
True.
5 and you get to, do the
Yeah.
imagination thing, but if you could like, I feel like I'm being with them at their teens today and like just going through that. I don't know if
I,
anyone would choose that.
yeah, I don't know about teens. You
Maybe
know,
not.
4 and 5 are their cute
Yeah.
stage. 8 is actually saying that 4. I don't know how old your children are, but my 4-year-old currently is becoming a very good negotiator. So
Oh,
literally, she'll go, Daddy, would you like a kiss and a cuddle? And I'm like, of course I would. And then she'll go, only if I get a McDonald's. And I'm
wow.
like, what? I'm like, so
He
you're not going to give me a
leads
kiss and a
with the
cuddle if
sale.
you? Yeah, and she's fantastic at it. I didn't give in though, because I'm a good
Good for you.
parent. I didn't give
Stay
in.
strong.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know what? You can tell I'm so English. So when you were talking about your upload, I was
Hmm.
thinking, do you know what? A lovely log fire, nice
Oh,
and a nice comfy big leather chair that you can just
yes.
relax in. Maybe I've just got to that dad stage where I'm just wanting peace and quiet.
Oh, I'm there. I'm
Mm.
absolutely there. Someplace in the woods,
Oh, you
you
can hear
can
the wood
just go out and
crackling.
smell it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be absolutely awesome. So what's what's next for you? What are you working on at the moment, or is it a case of you just relaxing, enjoying family life?
Yeah, right now it's a lot of family life. I'm exploring the writing side of things. I wrote about 4 pilots over the last year, and so I'm starting to take those out into market, which is really fun.
Mm.
But mostly just relaxing, hanging out with family, and making fun of those experiences on social media, and, and thoroughly trying to spoil my wife because I mean, she makes the whole thing possible, you know.
Exactly.
Uh, yeah,
Mm.
trying to do some of that.
And have you got any plans for when Upload season 2 comes out to watch it, or do you like watching yourself on screen, or do you avoid it?
I hate it. I hate it. I judge every little thing that I do, like, oh, that could have been push that moment. Ugh. You know, my friends have a regular habit of watching things that I've been in with me just to watch
Mm.
me cringe, to 1,000%. Uh, so I'll probably be doing some of that torture.
Mm.
But I also really love season 2. I think it does everything that season 1 did, but better.
Mm.
Like the romance, the mystery, the sci-fi, everything is just like amplified.
Mm.
And yeah, it's hard not to enjoy that, even
And
despite me being in it.
and do you think we'll get a season 3, because it's like a running theme where shows at the moment are getting renewed like before the next season comes out? I mean, do you think they'll get a season 3 from what you know about season 2?
From what I know, season 2 opens up for possibilities for a season 3. Um, I think it's a situation where you go, here's this format. Do we have something else to say?
Mm.
And Upload does a great job of taking the human experience, things like love and sex and, you know, parenting, and it throws it to technology and says, like, how close can we get to the real thing?
Mm.
And it does a really good job of that. A good job of that.
Mm,
And
mm,
so I think there's room for that in season three to explore more of those experiences and make fun of ourselves,
mm.
uh, and see how technology is defining us as humans and what our experience is.
Well, fingers
Um,
crossed we'll get season three. And before we end this wonderful chat, I've got to say, on your IMDb, we are lacking a bit of trivia for you, Josh. So I think we need to add a bit of trivia on there. So what is the most interesting fact about Josh?
oh no. The most interesting fact about me is I was a finalist in the 2019 um, Camp Hollywood swing dance competition, which is like a
The
worldwide.
There you go. Why is that not on your IMDb? That is awesome. Who would you like to work with the most? And I think you're probably going to say Jeffrey Wright, aren't you?
Oh God, I would kill to work with him. I think he'd eat me alive, which would be terrifying. I want to be, I want to be in something with like Will Ferrell or Seth Rogen,
Mm,
just to feel out how our comedy would mesh.
mm,
You know,
yeah.
I think I'm bringing kind of like a weird new age comedy, and those guys are so good at inventing and being funny. I've
Mm.
just oh Maya Rudolph. Oh my God,
Okay.
everything else out the window. Maya Rudolph,
Okay.
100%. Thank you so much, Maya. If you're watching this,
There you
call
go.
me.
Make it happen.
Thank
Have
you.
you got a party trick?
Me?
Yeah. Won't be anyone else.
Um, yeah. I mostly just watch party tricks and quietly judge them in the corner and go like, wow, I mean, anybody can juggle. I think that's my party trick is throwing shade.
That is good. I had a guest once that said that she could lick her elbow, and for the next like minute and a half, she was trying to lick her elbow during the interview. It was great. Um, and then afterwards, she went, "Oh dear, that's going to be your screenshot, isn't it?" And I was like, "That is going to be the thumbnail on YouTube."
That's
And the
right.
video's done fantastic.
New
Most
headshot.
most embarrassing moment, Josh.
Most embarrassing. There have been so many. It's hard to it's hard to
Yeah,
pick
what
just
day is
one.
it?
Yeah, exactly. So yesterday, um, most embarrassing moment. Okay, so once I it was in high school and uh I was in the anime and martial arts club because they just said, let's combine these things.
Wow.
Right. And I was doing a high kick and I thought it was really cool. And I split my pants from
Wow.
seam to seam. And I went to an all boys school. So it was fine. No big deal. I walked to my locker. I was in my boxers. And I, put put boxers in the locker or pants in the locker, slammed it, started walking back to my car. And I didn't realize that they were having cheerleader tryouts that day. And girls from 6 different sister schools were on campus. And so when I turned around, there they all of them were.
Wow.
And they were that kind of quiet that you knew you were the only thing they were talking about. That was pretty bad.
Did you walk off embarrassed, or did you just use what you had and walked out there with your head up high and go, "Hello, ladies"?
I wish I was that cool. I recall frantically trying to get back to my locker and hiding behind a stone trash can. Those are the two things I recall.
and and your proudest moment in your career to date?
Oh man. Okay. Okay, this is okay. So there's a project that I'm a part of that hasn't been released yet. I'm starting voiceover as a result of being home more. And I got offered a kid show. I can't say what it is, but it's with a very well-known franchise. and I play the dad of one of the characters, right?
Oh wow! It's
And they offered me this
this is like a
role,
game. This is like guess what? You know?
kind of, yeah,
Okay, go on.
because it
I'm
won't come
thinking
out till
now.
the summer. Log it away. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do a kid show. Sure. Why not? It's kind of fun. And I did the first episode. It was really sweet. I did another episode. It was kind of fun. And then each episode is like the kid is dealing with an issue and we kind of see them navigate their feelings. The last episode that we did dealt with untimely death. And
Wow.
it was the heaviest, most terrifying, but most fulfilling acting I've ever done because I was the dad of this kid who had just lost a close friend.
Mm.
And playing with how would I communicate that to my own kid? But
Mm.
also, how am I teaching parents and showing parents and modeling for them how they might approach this?
Mm.
Um, it just made the whole thing a completely different experience, even though it was like this kids show that'll come out at some point with puppets.
Well, the thing
Uh,
is, they say that kid shows, because I can remember. I don't know if you can remember years ago, He-Man used to
oh
always
yeah,
have that message, and we forget that. Yeah, the majority of cartoons and kids programs are quite mindless, sort of. Let's get them zombied out for a couple of hours
right.
or an hour, but it's quite nice and refreshing to hear that this project that you're involved in is really thoughtful in the way of how to, put that message across, which, as a parent, again, is quite hard. And we are responsible for moulding our little ones into brilliant people. So yeah, I look forward to that. I'll keep an eye out, and I'll
Yeah.
let everyone know once we get permission to say. So lastly, how can fans follow you on social media? Of course.
Yeah, I keep it real simple. I'm at Josh Banday on Twitter, and Twitter's kind of like random stuff. TikTok, all of it's random. Random content. That's what I'm known for. You get a Morgan Freeman impression, you get random songs, some touching moments, and I'm at Josh Banday on Instagram.
And I've got to say, there was a skit that you did, I think, with your other half, and I was watching it at work, and I just laughed out loud, and everyone just looked at me, and it was something to do with you were teaching a certain group of people karate, and they've got heart. And
That's right.
I just thought it was hilarious. But Josh, you've been a great guest. I look forward to upload season 2 on the 11th of March on Amazon. Yeah, get on there, watch it, support the show, and let's fingers crossed for season 3. But Josh, you've been a great guest. Keep safe and stay super.
Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate it.